Hello once again. Welcome to the Security Update, which we often look at issues concerning security in the continent from west to east, and these are the stories making the headlines. Somalia government revealed its new plans to launch military operations against Al-Shabaab in Pai and Bokor regions. U.S. Ambassador to Somalia backs the collaboration between Somalia government forces and clan militias in the offensive against Al-Shabaab. African Union calls for immediate ceasefire dialogue in Ethiopia's Tigray region. Plus, TPLF leaders beg for Ethiopia's ceasefire, call for global intervention as war rages. Welcome to the program. The federal government of Somalia has new plans to launch extensive military operations against Al-Shabaab in the Pai and Bokor regions of southwest state. The Defense Minister Abdikadir Mohamed Nur made the announcement. The federal government of Somalia has new plans to launch extensive military operations against Al-Shabaab in the Pai and Bokor regions of southwest state. The Defense Minister Abdikadir Mohamed Nur made the announcement. The decision came barely a few hours after Defense Minister and Somalia's military chief, Odawa Yusuf Rage, engaged in talks with the Southwest State's President Abdelaziz Laftagrain in Paidawa. The officials said their meeting was focused on accelerating the war on Al-Shabaab, which the federal government launched last month. The Defense Minister believes that this is the right time for the Southwest State locals to collaborate in the fight against Al-Shabaab and remove the fighters from their final hideouts in the region. The military chief of the Odawa Yusuf Rage said the operation will start anytime soon without giving a specific date. There are similar operations against Al-Shabaab underway in southern and central Somalia, which are led by the federal government forces and local pro-government militias. The Somalia government orders businesses not to pay Al-Shabaab. Warns businesses that pay Al-Shabaab will have their license revoked. Meanwhile, Al-Shabaab described the directive as an excuse aimed at seizing assets of the businesses. Somalia's Ministry of Commerce and Industry said the full force of the law would be brought against traders who pay the Al-Shabaab, which experts say raises millions of dollars through a complex and extensive taxation system. The government threatened to sanction businesses that pay extortion money to Al-Shabaab, looking to choke a lucrative cash pipeline the Islamist militants used to fund a deadly insurgency. The ministry said any business found to have paid for collaborating with Al-Shabaab in any way would face legal action, including having their government issue trading permits revoked. The group has been trying to overthrow the central government in Mogadishu for more than 15 years and regularly stages deadly bombings and armed attacks on civilian and military targets. Despite an international effort to degrade the group, Al-Shabaab controls swaths of countryside and allegedly uses threats of violence to collect taxes in territory under their jurisdiction. The group taxes real estate, road cargo at checkpoints and slaps customs on imports passing through the capital's main port, according to a 2020 report by the Mogadishu-based Herald Institute. The think tank then estimated Al-Shabaab raised at least $15 million a month, rivaling the government's own tax collection efforts. U.S. Ambassador to Somalia Larry Andre said that his government strongly supports the collaboration between local militias and government security agencies in their offensive against Al-Shabaab in central Somalia. The United States of America has clarified its stance on the ongoing war against Al-Shabaab by the Somali government forces and local pro-government militias. The U.S. supported the war and urged Somali clans to cooperate in their offensive against Al-Shabaab. The U.S. Ambassador to Somalia, Larry Andre, emphasized that the clans should put their rifles aside for their common interest, making the U.S. one of the first Western states to back the ongoing war on Al-Shabaab. Last month, government forces backed by local militias launched an offensive against the Al-Shabaab in the central regions of Somalia, claiming to have killed more than 500 fighters and liberated over 40 villages. According to the army, earlier this month, Al-Shabaab co-founder Abdullahi Nadir was also killed in the U.S. airstrike near Chilib, about 370 kilometers southwest of the capital Mogadishu. As the war against Al-Shabaab intensifies, Somalian National Army forces said they have entered and recaptured new villages in the Middle Shabelle region from Al-Shabaab. The group has not yet addressed it about the matter. The forces also claimed to have recaptured strategic locations from Al-Shabaab on Sunday. Somalia forces recaptured several villages in the Middle Shabelle region following a security operation. Lawmaker Osman Hadole, a former army commander, Karan District Commissioner Abshir Karan, and officers from the 27th Division of the Somali military led the forces that took over Yakle, Mukadere, Dagaho, Korabe, Shanlo, Barbaraki, and most of them are located in the Balad district. Military officials did not specify the number of casualties that resulted from the operation. They forwarded that the Somali National Army would establish an operating base in the area to advance the security of the Jowhar and Balad districts. Last week, a sizable contingent of government soldiers left Mogadishu for the Middle Shabelle and Mudug regions to join the military offensive in the area. The government forces on Saturday recaptured a strategic district linking the country's southern and central regions after Al-Shabaab withdrew its fighters. The African Union has called for an immediate unconditional ceasefire in the two-year-old conflict in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. The Continental Party also appealed to parties in conflict to recommit to dialogue as agreed upon. But we will be back after the short break.
Making documentaries is one of the most creative craft and challenging endeavors you can be involved in. It is an effective strategy to inform, persuade, educate, defend the perspective, and shed light on various issues, policies, and activities. At CBA TV, documentary production is our forte. We capture every TikTok detail of events in highest resolution to tell the story you care about, from politics to human hunger, research-based content, educative and informative. We also help you project your story in a dynamic perspective that attracts the world views of the target audience, as there is no better or more powerful way to place the organization's values and achievements than to make an excellent documentary film. No doubt, our strength lies in these ventures, and we pride in many award-winning documentaries which have been earning accolades across Africa and beyond. Let's tell your story.
Welcome back again. The African Union has called for an immediate unconditional ceasefire in the two-year-old conflict in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. The Continental Party also appealed to parties in conflict to recommit to dialogue as agreed upon.
The chairperson of the African Union, Musa Faki Mahamat, has called for an immediate ceasefire in Ethiopia's Tigray region and urged parties involved in the conflict to agree to direct peace talks. The chairperson, in a statement, strongly calls for an immediate resumption of humanitarian services. The Ethiopian government had earlier announced that it had accepted an invitation from the African Union to hold peace talks with the Tigray People's Liberation Front rebels. Tigray rebels have also confirmed they would take part after the Addis Ababa government confirmed its participation in the peace talks. The negotiations will be led by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, the AU's High Representatives for the Horn of Africa, supported by former Kenya President Uhuru Kenyatta and former South African Deputy President Mzile Mlambo Nzuka, according to an AU invitation seen by Reuters. The Abiy Ahmed-led Ethiopian government and its allies have been fighting Tigray forces since late 2020. Fighting in the war-torn Tigray resumed in August after a 5-month humanitarian truce. The violence has killed thousands of people and uprooted millions, with hundreds of thousands now facing possible famine. Kamil Sadiq, CBA TV.
The Tigray People's Liberation Front has made an urgent call on the international community to compel the Eritrean army to withdraw from Tigray and press the Ethiopian government to come to the negotiation table.
On its official Twitter page, TPLF beckons on the international community to enforce an immediate ceasefire between them and the Ethiopian government or help them defend themselves. The group, which has been designated as terrorist group by the Ethiopian government last year, said it will be forced to fight on if negotiation is not reached as planned. TPLF, however, signaled interest in the peace deal, saying it was ready to respect an immediate cessation of hostilities if the Ethiopian government were compelled to negotiate for peace. The ongoing Tigray war that began on 3 November 2020 in the Tigray region of Ethiopia has seen millions of people fleeing their homes, while thousands have lost their lives. The war is primarily being fought by the Ethiopian federal government, aided by Eritrean forces on one side and the Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF) on the other. The Tigray People's Liberation Front (TPLF), a politically powerful entity that had dominated Ethiopian politics for 27 years through a one-party dominant system, refused to join the new party created by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed when it merged the ethnic and region-based constituent parties of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front (EPRDF) coalition and several opposition parties into New Prosperity Party in 2019 to distance the country from ethnic federalism and ethnic nationalist politics. In a bid to draw the two parties to a negotiation table, African Union (AU) called for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire between the group and Ethiopian forces amid renewed fighting in the north.
The federal government forces of Somalia claimed to have recaptured a strategic district in Middle Shabelle region from Al-Shabaab during a military operation. The district has a bridge connecting the country's central and lower regions, which the group uses to transfer goods and equipment to their militants in central and southern areas. Somalia government forces affirmed they have recaptured a strategic district linking the country's southern and central regions after the Al-Shabaab withdrew its militants. Residents in Hawala district, located on the outskirts of Balad district, 40 kilometers north of the Somali capital Mogadishu, said they saw Somali military enter and seize the district after Al-Shabaab fighters completed their withdrawal. The district has a bridge connecting the country's central and lower regions, which the group uses to transfer goods and equipment to their militants in central and southern areas. Colonel Abokar Pono, the supervisor of the military unit that took over the district, said that the Somali National Army would establish an operating base in the area to advance the security of the Jowhar and Pala districts. Somali government forces backed by the local pro-government militia groups have liberated over 40 villages and claimed to have killed over 500 Al-Shabaab fighters in the past 3 weeks in operations in central Somalia. On Saturday, thousands of Tunisians from An-Nahdha Party and Free Constitutional Party held demonstrations across the capital, Tunis, demanding accountability for the country's long-running economic crisis as they denounced President Kais Saied's moves to consolidate political power.
Across the city, supporters of the opposition held parallel rallies accusing Saied of economic mismanagement and of an anti-democratic coup. Ali Larayed, Tunisia's former prime minister and a senior Ennahda member, told reporters that the protest was an expression of anger at the state of affairs under Kais Saied. Saied, who moved to rule by decree after shutting down parliament last year and expanding his powers with a new constitution passed in a July referendum, has said the measures were needed to save Tunisia from years of crises. In a speech on Saturday to commemorate the departure of French troops upon Tunisia's 1956 independence, he demanded the departure of all who want to undermine independence, an apparent shot at his political foes. Saied's opponents have said his actions have undermined the democracy secured through a 2011 revolution that removed longtime leader El Abidine Ben Ali and triggered the Arab Spring. However, a worsening economic situation made worse by the supply shortages in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine has agitated many in the North African country. In public, Said has argued he was working to correct economic troubles that he had inherited from Tunisia's post-Ben Ali leadership. Cash-strapped Tunisia is in talks with the International Monetary Fund for a bailout loan of about $2 billion.
And with that story of the Tunisian protesters demanding accountability for the country's long-running economic crisis as they denounced President Kais Saied's moves to consolidate political power, we'll wrap up our program for this time. Thank you very much. My name is Hamza Dabchiri.